Watch this.
It is our way of saying who we are as a community. It's a statement of values for our community.
Which is why the pride flag still flies at Boise City Hall, despite a strongly worded letter from Idaho's top law enforcement officer. Because it looks like the flag law isn't really enforceable, or maybe just selectively. Someone else getting some strongly worded messages, the Mountain Home Police Chief, which is why he's saying goodbye. University of Idaho is having to say goodbye to their largest grant ever, and in turn, a lot of ag research and some of its employees, thanks to another federal cut by President Donald Trump. Well, if you've been following the flag kerfuffle in Boise, then you know the mayor has refused to remove a pride flag from a pole on City Hall Plaza. Back on April 3rd, Governor Little signed House Bill 96, which meant government entities, that'd be state, county, cities, or towns, could no longer fly any flag other than, well, the U.S. flag, the state of Idaho flag, military flags, POW/MIA flag, maybe a school flag, or even a tribal flag. And that law went into effect immediately when he signed it. Almost just as immediately, people, mostly far-right conservatives, started pointing out the pride flag still flying outside Boise City Hall. Mayor McLean made it clear it wasn't coming down. Then this week, Mayor McLean received two letters, one from the state attorney general, the other from the Ada County sheriff. The strongly worded two-page letter from the AG admonished the mayor for not obeying the law. And the one from the sheriff said, well, this law should have been written better. Both law enforcement letters admit there's no way to enforce it. And perhaps that's why Mayor McLean told us today she's taking both of those letters into consideration.
For the time being, it was pretty clear this isn't a crime, and we're going to keep doing what we've done for a decade, and that is fly a flag that symbolizes our commitment to being a safe and welcoming city for everyone, that embraces diversity in each and every one of our residents. It says that unequivocally, and we will keep doing what we've always done.
You say it isn't a crime, but it is against the law.
There's a whole bunch of things that we're analyzing in those letters, and as I said before, we're going to keep flying the flags we've flown historically.
Government buildings should represent all Idahoans and not be used for political or social movements.
When this bill was going through the State House, did you talk to anybody about it? Did anybody talk to you about it? Anybody from the legislature?
I didn't have conversations about it. It was pretty clear in the testimony provided that this was about one flag.
What it seems like we're getting to is that there's just one flag that is objectionable, and that is that rainbow flag that we're seeing. The only photos I see, I don't see a Appeal to Heaven flag. All I see are rainbow flags.
And this is a time when I will continue to say that we've done this for a decade. Boiseans are proud of the symbol that this is for our community. We will keep doing what we've always done.
Do you think you have legal standing for that?
Somebody's got to decide that. I'm doing what I believe is right.
What did you think about the Attorney General's letter that you should follow the law just because that's what you should do?
I really appreciate that. He also pointed out some other things with regard to the bill.
The last paragraph of the letter from Labrador does point out the lack of criminal or civil penalty in the law, but claims the mayor should comply out of a sense of duty to the oath of office. The letter from Ada County Sheriff Matt Clifford said, this new state code fails to tell me what the required penalties would be, nor does it lay out what kind of violation it would be. Sheriff Clifford also pointed out he can't just cite or arrest a government entity, since laws usually apply to people.
The sheriff's letter was pretty clear. There's nothing he could do. And I've been pretty clear that we're taking both these letters into account, and we'll keep flying the symbol of our commitment to our residents.
Question from the gentleman, 26.
And while there were a lot of questions in the State House,
so would CSI be able to maintain those international flags?
About what flag would be at risk?
Would those flags then be not able to be displayed at those celebrations?
Nobody asked about enforcement. We did ask Representative Heather Scott, the bill's sponsor, why an enforcement mechanism was not included in the bill. Her answer? There's a presumption the government will follow the law. If we had to write a penalty into law for every single direction we give to government, our code would be tens of thousands of pages. However, there was one other city mentioned during debate.
Would the city of Bonners Ferry be able to continue flying the Canadian flag?
Bonners Ferry
Senator Taves
is about 30 miles from the Canadian border.
It's a little bit of a gray area, to be honest.
And to welcome visitors from the Great White North, they've flown a maple leaf flag for decades, and they still do. Is the Canadian flag still flying outside City Hall?
It is, hey, it is still flying, yes. We still have it up.
Okay, great. One last question. Have you guys received any letters of complaints about it at all?
No, we have not.
Yet the city of Boise has. So if somebody said, can you put up a "Don't Tread on Me" flag, would you consider that?
You know, I mean, that's really interesting discussion. But the answer is no, because we're flying flags that have been flown historically rather than new flags, because it is an unequivocal statement of our commitment to being a safe and welcoming place for everybody.
When I asked Representative Scott today if this law would also apply to Bonners Ferry, well, there was no gray area for her. She simply said yes. The law does allow for another country's flag to be flown, but only to commemorate special occasions. Year-round obviously doesn't apply to that. Meanwhile, we learned today the Mexican flag that used to fly outside the Idaho Hispanic Community Center in Nampa, that was taken down on April 8th after they got one phone call. And the city of Parma continues to fly a blue line flag outside its police station. As for the organ donor flag, which was added last week outside Boise City Hall, Mayor McLean also points to precedent with that one, since they flew it last year. In Labrador's letter, he said he suggested lawmakers put in strong enforcement tools for this law next session. For example, maybe denying tax revenues to entities that fail to comply. I asked Mayor McLean if she's worried about that. She told us she'll deal with it if it comes. Representative Scott pointed out today Idaho code about willful omission of a public duty being a misdemeanor and how that should be applied to this. But I guess that's up to law enforcement, who've already said, well, there's really nothing we can do. Sheriff Clifford also sent out a statement along with his letter to the city in which he ended it with these words: I strongly urge Idaho legislators to work closely with subject matter experts when drafting legislation, end quote, to avoid this problem of unenforceable laws in the future.
To say I was disappointed doesn't begin to scratch it. It was just, I was disgusted.
Well, tensions between the city of Mountain Home and Elmore County have come to a head, ending with the Mountain Home police chief resigning. Disagreements started months ago over a different city issue, but most recently, the police department and the sheriff's office, they weren't seeing eye to eye about animal control. On March 7th, the county commissioners and the city sat down to figure out a way forward with this. The county did not record that meeting, but someone who was there did. Espen Schumpert was able to use that video to figure out what happened at the meeting that led to the chief's resignation.
It comes to a point where you simply have to say, it's not worth it.
After more than 3 decades in law enforcement across various states, the Mountain Home police chief of 3 years, John Thompson, is hanging up his badge earlier than planned.
I look at my tenure here as very successful. We've done things that had never been thought about in this agency.
But a joint meeting between city council and county commissioners last month changed everything.
My initial reaction, quite frankly, was very visceral. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach.
The group raised concerns about the relationship between the police chief and the Elmore County sheriff.
What are we going to do with your chief and the sheriff?
It is the worst I have ever seen. I mean, police chiefs and sheriffs have had disagreements before, but it's never filtered down to the officers that are on duty.
Sheriff Mike Hollenshed says it's no secret the police chief and him disagree.
Both of us have different management styles, okay? Neither one of them is wrong.
But in the sheriff's eyes, it's not affecting officers from working together beneath the two.
And maybe there's a little disagreement with a few deputies, a few officers, but from what I'm being told and what I see on calls when we go out to back each other up, it's very well received and they work very good together.
We all need to check our darn personalities at the door and get down to business.
Yeah.
We've got to let bygones be bygones because our citizens are going to be affected if we keep acting like this.
I didn't recognize the person they were talking about. None of those concerns have been brought directly to me by any member of City Council.
We recognize it's a problem, but we don't govern him.
Well,
we don't
you recognize it
we
as
don't
much as we're hearing it.
We don't, absolutely. We all are going to be affected, but we cannot fix the chief. We can trickle this information down, but we can't. I mean, we have an HR department.
To be publicly bashed in an open meeting, especially to another elected body was just astonishing.
After all of this, Chief Thompson felt he had only one option: to resign.
They made very clear in that meeting that they felt there was not a path forward for this department with me at the helm. And that's perfectly fine. I would have preferred they had that conversation with me. Makes it tough to leave. Council makes it very easy to leave.
The chief sent his letter of resignation in the days following that meeting. His last day will be at the end of this month. Now, Council President Brennan tells me it's unfortunate the chief chose to resign over internal conflicts. Council members Hargo and Workala did not want to comment because it's a personal matter. The city tells me the police chief job is posted. What that means if someone's going to step in temporarily at the end of this month is unclear at this point, but it looks like they'll be moving forward with a new chief soon.
So it's a personnel matter, but they had no problem talking about it in a public meeting.
Yeah, and you heard the chief say, to be talked about in the open meeting, he would have preferred if it was discussed internally.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much, Aspen. Meanwhile, Caldwell Mayor Jerem Wagner has issued a strong statement defending his administration against a recall petition led by a Caldwell resident, Jim Hollis. Mayor says all allegations against the police chief misusing funds, they were investigated and they found nothing illegal, no illegal activity. And an investigation by ASP showed the same outcome. Disagreements over land use decisions like the hotel project across from the county fairgrounds. Wagner maintains elected officials must make choices like those that they believe serve the community's best interest, even when unpopular. Mayor concluded his statement by saying, by highlighting Caldwell's economic growth and development, stating, quote, Caldwell has never thrived more than it is today, end quote, and encouraging citizens to gather the facts rather than listening to the voice that is simply yelling the loudest. The state of Idaho continues to feel the cuts being made by the Trump administration. A project designed to make farming more sustainable, paid for by a $59 million federal grant, the largest such grant in University of Idaho history, that was just terminated. The program, known as Innovative Agriculture and Marketing Partnership, or IAMP, was supposed to help change how major crops are grown across the state. But now, as Hunter Funk explains, it's in limbo, as are dozens of jobs. Well, they're gone.
Friday, everything's good. On Monday, we're dead. Basically the summary.
It was supposed to reshape agriculture in Idaho by improving soil health, cutting greenhouse gas emissions, and helping farmers market sustainable crops. Part of a national USDA program to fund climate-smart agriculture, the project, 2 years in the making, is now on pause.
Disruptive at best, right? If not totally destroying the program to do this, especially so abruptly.
IAMP spent the last 2 years building community partnerships, building the infrastructure needed to do the research, and just started accepting applications from Idaho producers who grow everything from potatoes, barley, and beef.
We had 200 producers apply from across the state.
Producers were going to be paid to be part of the research. Co-director of the program, Sanford Eigenbrod, says,
one of the things I had the unpleasant duty of doing this week was letting people go.
At least 17 staff members and a dozen graduate students lost their jobs. Some were just days away from launching field research. The USDA says the university can revise and reapply for a portion of the original grant, but they haven't been sent the request for application or information about the changes needed.
We hope it comes pretty soon because they said the deadline's June 20th. So if they don't tell us what we're supposed to do till June 1st, it's going to be very hard to do that.
Even if a new grant comes through, they'd be rebuilding teams and refilling positions that were just cut. But he says at least the community partnerships remain strong. As for what they'll do now, all they can do is wait.
I hope this is the last blow of this kind that I'm this close to.
And he also mentioned that they've been meeting with other schools who experienced similar things, saying about 140 projects, big and small, were impacted by this. He also says it's impacting our neighboring states. Didn't say which, but you can kind of assume there a little bit.
There's been a lot of cuts lately. Do we know if this one specifically is just arbitrary, or is it was there a reason behind this?
It just sounds like USDA cuts. I'm not exactly sure where that comes from, but yeah.
They're just slashing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he says he's noticing a trend where a lot of it's science related. This was also kind of climate change, sustainability related, so he's worried that maybe that's on the chopping block.
Yeah, probably. All right, thanks, Hunter. Well, the man who accused a woman of disrupting a town hall in North Idaho and then forcibly removed her from that meeting now face several accusations of their own. And Idaho's third largest city is celebrating another big number. Joe Paris gives us more from around the 208 in today's 411.
The city attorney for Coeur d'Alene says charges were filed against 6 people after security guards for Lear Asset Management forcibly removed Teresa Borenful from a town hall meeting in February. The security guards were in plain clothes and had no identification. Charges range from battery, false imprisonment, security agent uniform violation, and security agent duties violation. It's unclear if those who are charged worked for the security company. Prosecutors rested in their case yesterday in Lori Vallow-Daybell's conspiracy to commit murder trial, where she is representing herself. She's already convicted of killing her children here in Idaho. Now she's facing charges in Arizona for conspiring to kill her former husband, Charles Vallow. Lori said she doesn't intend to call any witnesses, so she rests her case too. She has until Monday to change her mind. For now, we expect closing arguments to begin next week. You can stream the whole trial on KTVB+. Just download it on your TV right now and watch for free.
But information has come to my attention, and in good conscience, I can no longer have my husband's name, likeness, image, or memory used to promote this organization.
Deputy Tobin Bolter's wife, Abby, isn't supporting the Tobin Bolter Memorial Project and Scholarship Program just days after it started. In a live stream on Facebook yesterday, Abby says that her attorneys filed a cease and desist using her husband's name against that charity. We still don't know what Abby found out, but the nonprofit organizer, Samuel Farrell, responded with a lengthy statement saying, in part, "This nonprofit has nothing to do with me as a person. As I've said since day one of its inception, this program is built to honor the wounded or fallen law enforcement nationwide, as well as their families, while also providing scholarships to our future leaders." Heads up, tickets for the 2025 St. Jude Dream Home giveaway go on sale next Wednesday, April 23rd at 5 a.m. The 2,100 square foot home is located in the Oaklawn community in Star. It has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and is valued at $750,000. Tickets are $100, and it benefits St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And a big happy anniversary to the city of Nampa, who turned 134. Nampa municipal government has formed on this day in 1891. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Joe Paris.
hairstyles and your trash cans, if it was garbage day, have survived our windy Thursday okay. It has been howling nonstop throughout the day as expected, and still right now, these are our most recent wind gusts recorded across southwest Idaho, still howling at 30 to 35 miles per hour. No recent wind gusts in the Magic Valley, but Magic Valley has been dealing with precipitation today and much colder temperatures. Here in Boise, we've had a lot of sunshine to enjoy, but it's definitely deceivingly sunny as we've just barely hit 60 degrees in Boise, and our sustained winds are straight out of the north at 24 miles per hour. So that has kept a chill in the air, the kind of day where if you don't grab the jacket, you're likely running right back in to get it. And you want to keep that jacket around for the evening, as wind does remain our big weather headline through at least 7 or 8 o'clock. Our wind advisory is still set to expire at 9 o'clock. I think the gusty, blustery winds start subsiding after sunset, and temperatures will dip into those upper 50s around 7 o'clock tonight. Sunset, by the way, 8:31 this evening. So we have been dry, sunny, and windy across the Treasure Valley. A bit of a different setup for the Magic Valley. It was very windy this morning. We've had this low pressure center just swirling right over south central Idaho. That is bringing a lot of rain and even snow to south central and eastern Idaho today. Kind of a wintry scene out around Pocatello with some snow showers there. All of this precipitation, though, does move off to the east overnight tonight into tomorrow. That will leave sunshine behind for all areas, but still a cool Friday, though the winds will be much lighter. While temperatures don't budge much for tomorrow, we'll still land right around 60 in Boise and start off in the 30s. Less wind means it should be a more enjoyable day. All right, morning lows tomorrow across the region at or below freezing in some spots like Mountain Home and Twin Falls, into the teens in Stanley. Cold air still in place, and clear skies will make for a very brisk Friday morning. Highs tomorrow are right around 60 to maybe 64 for the Treasure Valley. We'll see mid-50s in the Magic Valley, where they've only been into the upper 40s today. Easter weekend looking lovely. Cold in the mornings, nice in the afternoons with mid-60s. We stay in the 60s throughout the week next week.
All right, let's get to your comments on this Thursday. We're talking about House Bill 96 that became law on April 3rd when Governor Little signed it. Boise City Hall is still flying a flag outside, a pride flag that the AG claims is illegal. And this is Alan who's asking, so I can still fly my Trump flag. Of course, Alan, this doesn't apply to you. This only applies to government entities. You could do what you want with your own personal property. That's never been a problem. Listening to AG Labrador talk about upholding the law while cheering on a president who's out here speed-running felonies is peak Republican hypocrisy. It's almost impressive if it weren't so gross, says Brooke, not to mention the due process issues when it comes to immigration that we're seeing. It's appalling a city would select a flag that is for a small selection of population, unlike the American flag that represents everyone. Why not both? Why not do that? The pride flag does not represent all of Idaho. Why does the mayor get to pick and choose what she wants even though it's against the law? If it's a law that doesn't, if it's a law, doesn't the law enforcement officers have the responsibility to enforce the law? I assume you saw the story, which means there's no enforcement mechanism. But this is also being said, they need to represent all of Idahoans. Mayor McLean does. Not all Idahoans like the pride flag being flown. Well, this is the thing. It's about Boise. That's what she claims. The people of Boise are in favor of this flag being flown outside City Hall, and she's standing by that. Mayor McLean should just double down, says Ken in Boise, and add the West Ada "Everyone is welcome here" banner to the town flagpole. You go, girl. And again, Mayor McLean is just leading on precedent with this. They've been doing it for 10 years, and all of a sudden it's a problem. We'll see you tomorrow.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.